imagine if you, for just people we know in our regular life, if we got a Christmas card from somebody and it's them doing charity work, we would rip them apart.
Oh, yeah. Well. We are here today with the one and only Kate Casey, our favorite Kate Casey, here to talk about Hollywood conspiracies with who knows literally everything about everything. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you. I feel like I have just fit in right in. Like I'm one of the sisters.
You are.
Your older, annoying sister, probably.
Please, our much more knowledgeable sister, but fellow blonde. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh my God.
Truly. So fun to be here. Yeah. And we are here in Hollywood, so it just is perfect.
It could not be more fitting.
It's a little eerie. We can see like the Hollywood sign from our hotel room. And as I was preparing for this, I don't know, I just felt a little spooked.
A little bit.
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah, because the secrets here.
Well, that's my question, is how dark are these people's secrets? Like,
deep.
You think? Like, is it tunnels with children vibes? Or is it like just like a love child here and there? Like, how insidious is what goes on here?
Well, you couple people that come here with big dreams, and I feel like there's a part of them the minute they get here that sheds part of who they were and then who they want to be. And in that weird vortex, people make bad decisions.
Yeah.
They meet people who don't have the best intentions. And in their attempt to remain the person that they want to be and the person they want to become, some crazy stuff, I think, happens.
Yeah. I think some deals with the devil are made.
Yeah.
And I think we should start with a particular devil in Hollywood, if I may be so bold. I think we should talk about Kim Kardashian's sex tape and the possibility that Kris Jenner, orchestrated the sale of it.
I don't think it's that far of a stretch of imagination all these years later, because I feel like if you go back in Hollywood, there were so many momagers that predated Kris Jenner, and it's just she was in the modern era. If there had been the ability for a sex tape for Judy Garland's mother or
just
Natalie Wood's mother, or I don't know, maybe they would have done it as well.
Right.
What do you think Judy Garland's sex tape would have been like?
Her singing, orgasmic singing. Right?
I think it would have been very wholesome and pure. Like whatever was happening.
I don't know, because later in her life, she was like smoking a ciggy all the time. So who knows?
I'm just imagining like the film treatment that's from that era where it's like all black and white, kind of like on the fritz. Anyway, yeah, it would be very sexy, very stylized.
I mean, a gorgeous woman, and not unlike Kim Kardashian. What's interesting about this is it was a rumor, right? It was something that it was like an open secret in LA, but a rumor on the internet. But then, if we go back, we can remember that it was a plotline on the Kardashians that Kanye was going to get the like unreleased tapes back, and that Ray J was like threatening to release it again, or he was somehow involved in a re-release. So Ray J took to Instagram, and this is what he posted. He said, "You know what we did. Your mom controlled this whole sex tape deal. It was her idea to put out the tape. All I did was agree. Now you want to make it seem like I'm doing it again without your control. All those fake tears, your fans trusting you to be honest and sincere, but it's all fake for the cameras. I was playing my part until you started doing all of this." He claimed that there were 3 separate tapes, 2 taped in Cabo San Lucas and 1 in Santa Barbara, for which they each received $400,000. Ray J said that Kris watched the footage and, quote, made a decision about which tape to release. He says, "We was in that shit together," on an Instagram live. "Kris, you know what you did. I'm about to show people what you did."
Wow.
I mean, like, what world are you watching, your daughter's sex tape in different hotel rooms? And like, I just think that the lighting in this one is more flattering.
Let's go with Cabo number 2. Yeah, though I don't know what world we're living in.
I don't know. I mean, she went from a stylist organizing people's closets and to what her career became. It's just hard to imagine the conversation. Like, if we don't do something, you're never going to make it hit. Because she went on that date with Nick Lachey, and she was in the background with Paris all the time. I wish I was privy to those conversations.
Well, it was obviously such a different time because now there's so many small town internet starlets, right? The micro influencers, it's so much easier to make some sort of name for yourself. And obviously OnlyFans now, it's not nearly as taboo, and it's honestly not nearly as newsworthy if someone gets naked on camera. But back then I feel like it was kind of this clear shot. Like, hey, I'm best friends with Paris Hilton. This is what Paris Hilton had a sex tape. She became this glamorous socialite. And the question I have is there a world where Kim came to Kris and was like, Mom, I'm going to do this regardless?
Maybe that happened. Maybe she said, I will do it. So you have a choice. You can either support me and make this work or not.
Yeah.
Something else I saw.
I kind of think it was more that.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
Something else I saw was that I would think it was on the House of Kardashians. There was this clip from someone close to the Kardashian family, and he was talking about how they needed it to be like a leaked sex tape, not just like a sex tape, that was released. Like it needed to be leaked because, he basically said they needed that to be the story in the press because nobody really wants to watch a sex tape where it's like, this is me and my loving boyfriend. We want everyone to see it. There's no scandal there. There's nothing salacious about that. And so it was actually quite genius to some degree to be like, this is a leaked sex tape. And, suddenly then everyone is extremely curious about it. And it just like drove more fanfare.
What do you mean? Like they didn't do like a whole like intro, like welcome to our channel?
Yeah. Well, like they were going to release it, but then they also needed the story to be fed to the press was that it was leaked.
Like it was a private
It was an accident. It was a private tape
Yeah.
that was like they never wanted it to be out there, which then makes people go, well, I want to go watch it.
Well, that was on the heels of Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson too.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that was what worked for that marketing
Yeah.
strategy too.
Yeah.
Now we know in retrospect that from what Pamela has said, it was actually stolen from her
Yeah.
and a complete violation and haunted her for years.
One thing I think is so interesting about the Pamela Anderson story is hearing how she fell in love with Tommy Lee in Cancun, and he basically like gave her ecstasy for the first time.
Yep.
And they went on like this drug-fueled bender. And did they get married on that trip?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like she was kind of like under the influence.
Drugs, like roofied to some degree into getting married.
Yeah, that's just such
But
a.
we see that, but when she tells the story,
It's romantic.
it's romantic.
I mean, it's the first time she did ecstasy. How could it not be?
Well, and ecstasy is really one of those drugs where like definitely it can be used to take advantage of people.
Yeah.
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 So anyway, we'll get Pam on.
I know.
She'll clear the air on that one for sure.
Well, she's having her big moment now.
Her renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it on the show recently. There was a headline where she said, I'm not wearing any makeup and I'm surprised people are noticing.
Well, she said basically that she didn't think that it would be such a big deal when she kind of stepped out and it's like no makeup phase of her
carpets.
life, which is just like a little bit laughable.
Yeah, like if you're stepping onto a red carpet and you you literally have not even mascara on, I think people are going to notice that anyway.
More surprises me more are the people that kind of encircle these celebrities, especially at award shows, and they were not freaking out because they were.
Like we helped your glam, basically,
Or like her publicist.
Like you're not going to wear anything.
Mhm.
Like how's anybody going to
Oh.
pay attention to the dress, which is on loan? All of that.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
Like no one's going to notice you. In fact, they're going to make fun of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I feel like it was like a strategy. It was like, this is the new brand and this is how I'm going to get eyeballs and I'm going to get clicks. Like Pamela Anderson,
Well, it
no
worked.
makeup. And it worked.
worked,
We're
girl.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Flawlessly.
Okay. Let's get into another one. Chandler, I think that was a perfect one to start with. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Because it really goes to show that as we discuss these, everyone, and you might think, there's no way that's true. Literally, Ray J verified that it's
Yeah.
true. So not all is as it seems in La La Land, okay?
Absolutely not.
Let's move on to January Jones and Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so Kate, you are an expert in this.
Okay.
I honestly barely know who Matthew Vaughn is, but he is Claudia Schiffer's husband, and I
Yeah.
think that's what's
Very well known director. And
Okay.
at the time that they were filming, January was filming a movie. He was the director. There were all these rumors that they were having an affair. And then I believe it was like the end of the year. And then by September of the following year, she has this baby.
Yeah.
And the big question was like, who is the father?
Yeah.
Because she had also dated Jason Sudeikis around that time. I'm telling you, that was when Us Weekly, People Magazine, when the magazines came out, you would go to the newsstand and get a stack and just sit there and read them all.
Yeah.
It was a glorious
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So the question was, who is the father of the baby? Now, I kept thinking to myself, well, we're going to know in no time because we're going to see what the child looks
Mhm.
like. She was pretty stealth for many years, kind of hiding his face.
okay.
Recently, as in like a couple days
Oh
ago,
my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
found a picture. He looks just like Matthew Vaughn.
No.
He looks just like him.
And Matthew Vaughn and Claudia Schiffer still
They
married.
remain together. Yes.
Current day January Jones is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I feel like at least her Instagram presence is very kooky. You could
She's
say.
kooky
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. A different personality.
Is there something deeper going on there? Or no?
Well, I just think when these actors, they work on movie sets, they become so entrenched in the story. And if there's some sort of romance with someone who's their opposite actor, I mean, it's notorious. They talk about love affairs. I am sure that there are a lot of babies that came out of affairs on movie sets. In this
Yeah.
case,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just between an actress, or presumably between an actress and a director. But I'm telling you, go look at the picture and you tell me that's not
Wow. That is so
So,
interesting.
I would just love to know, like behind closed doors, if there's any communication between her and him.
I
Like,
know.
we both kind of know, you don't have to like be involved in our life, but
Mhm.
it's kind of obvious, the elephant in the room, that we now
Yeah.
have this love child together. And I'm sure Claudia also is clued in, right?
Well, gosh, you feel so terrible for her.
Yeah.
That's devastating.
Devastating.
Yeah. And their kids, too. What about the other kids?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it seems to me like usually when kids become adults, someone will come forward and say,
Yeah.
I am the love child.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any hush money payment? Like,
I would assume so.
right.
I mean, children are expensive.
Mhm.
Especially in LA.
Yeah. And if you're a married person and you don't want that person to come and have conversations with your spouse or your other children, maybe there's a little something on the side.
I just like
Make the
can't.
problem go away.
Yeah. I can't even imagine being in that position, like where it's just you look at this kid and you're like, just, yeah. I can't
Also,
fathom it.
I'm wondering how many women have children with men they're in love with, but who they know are not going to like leave their wives for them.
I think it happens a lot. I had someone on my podcast that talked about how they found out as an adult that their stepfather, who had just passed away, had a child with a woman he had an affair with, and they kept a secret. She didn't even know until her stepfather died. And that was somebody who worked in
Crazy.
finance. He was someone who was very successful on Wall Street.
Yeah. Ugh. Well,
Ugh.
thankfully, 23andMe, I think, is really getting to the bottom of all
Well,
this.
it will. Yes, it will.
So people might get a little upset with me for bringing this up, but I think it's a perfect next subject given what we just talked about.
It's 2025.
2025 is upon us.
We are all ready to get in shape, feel good,
And to use mom's words, hit the ground running.
hit the ground running on our self-improvement. And let's start with getting a little more protein in. How about that?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
The easiest way to consume more protein is through using Clean Simple Eats, either their gorgeous protein powders, which taste like a Wendy's Frosty when blended with just ice and water. It's impeccable.
And if you're not in the mood for a protein shake, their clear protein are delicious. I love it with a lot of ice. My favorite flavor is the orange.
I love the prickly pear. I'm such a huge fan of the clear protein. Kourtney has cases always at the ready now at her house. She's a huge fan. You guys, you have to go to cleansimpleeats.com. Check out the clear protein. Check out their protein powders. Let's put on some muscle. Let's get stronger.
Let's get stronger together, 2025.
Hashtag stronger together. Chandler, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, go to cleansimpleeats.com. Use code POPAPOLOGIST for 10% off. That's cleansimpleeats.com. Code POPAPOLOGIST for 10% off. Chandler, can I share with you something?
Always.
I truly am loving an early bird in place of a glass of wine at the end of the day. I feel like we're all trying to drink less as a nation, as one world, trying to be healthier.
It's true. We are.
Yeah, like drinking less is really a trend. And although we do want a way to just melt away at the end of the day, just relax a little bit, that's where Early Bird CBD comes in. This magical concoction of 2.5 milligrams THC and 12.5 milligrams CBD, it will just give you the perfect little melty, nice buzz, but it's almost undetectable. It's very mild. It's very relaxed. I recommend even starting with a half if you're uneasy, but it's truly a divine experience.
It's mild, melty perfection. It's one of the number one things I'm recommending to friends constantly. I love Early Bird. Everyone go to earlybirdcbd.com and use our code POP20 at checkout. That's earlybirdcbd.com. Use our code POP20. Perfect. I want to do the 23andMe for Kourtney Kardashian's son
I do too.
and Justin Bieber. I need to know if there's any
I know.
correlation there because some people say he looks like Scott. To me, he looks very similar to Justin.
I think
Rain,
he looks
what we're talking
extremely
about.
similar
Yeah.
to Justin Bieber.
Yes.
He also seems to have a little bit more moxie than the other kids. I don't know why, but then I'm like, is that a little bit of Bieber personality in there
Yeah.
too?
Well, and we all saw.
And by the way, we wouldn't discuss this, or maybe we would in private if they lived in our town and she was the librarian. But the fact that they're on a reality show, I think it kind of opens the door for conversations you wouldn't necessarily have about someone else.
I mean, I've seen her like boyfriend shave her vagina on TV. So I just think that, a lot is on the table here.
Right.
Also, I'm pretty sure it was a plot line in the Kardashians that Scott wanted a paternity test.
For Reign?
For Reign. Because when
wow, they're really.
I remember the moment where she said to him she was pregnant. She was in her closet.
Yes.
And he got quite angry.
Yes.
I could see the mathematics going in his head. He was
Right.
like, wait, what? And he got very angry.
Yeah. Well, and her and Justin, their fling coincides perfectly with when Reign would have been conceived. And their fling, it's not like this is maybe it happened or maybe it didn't. Like, fully was in People magazine. Kourtney Kardashian fling is an ego boost for Justin Bieber. Source says he couldn't care less if it's just revenge on Scott Disick. Like, this was a confirmed romance. He was 21. She was 36. This happened, folks. Okay? So I just think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Also, let's not forget, okay, if this happened to somebody who lives in Topeka, you have people that surround that couple, whether they're together or not. They're both of their parents, their friends, people in their ear saying this is a decision you should make. Think about that for people who are celebrities. That circle gets quite large.
Mm-hmm.
You have managers and agents and other people that have fiduciary interest in that celebrity to keep a secret or to make a certain decision about a child. So that's what complicates it all the more. I think sometimes the people who are in the center of the relationship have their best interests, but it's the outsiders that have a way of convincing them of doing something.
Like, do you think that outsiders said, like, Justin, you can't take part in this child's life?
Well, he's a 21-year-old and she's 36.
Mm-hmm,
He's a 21-year-old who's on the cusp of maybe some tour dates or some sort of business decision. And they may have said, like, this is going to cloud your image.
Yeah.
This doesn't look good. And conversely, the same for her end. Let's say if this is even true. You're 36, he's 21. This might not look good. How's this going to make the other kids feel? We have no idea what kind of conversations they have, behind closed doors.
There is a part of me that just thinks that Kris Jenner, though, would have been like, oh, this is an excellent season 21 or whatever it was about.
Well, maybe, but she's not the one who was pregnant.
Yeah, it's true.
So who knows?
Yeah, and maybe Kourtney didn't want any sort of narrative out there that her kids had a different father. Like that she wanted a one baby daddy storyline.
A lot of your decisions are based on your own life experiences and your own family of origin.
Yeah.
So maybe for some of them, they don't want the idea of a father, like several different fathers for their kids. I'm not saying specifically the Kardashians. I just think everybody, we always go into every decision with our own set of life circumstances and lens.
I don't know. I'm kind of wondering, like, did the Kardashians sit down one day and, like, during their family beliefs and principles, they said one baby daddy? Because it's almost like they all agreed to that and did it, right? Like Kim, all Kanye, Tristan for Khloe.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott for Kourtney. I guess Kylie has one or two.
Travis.
Well, yeah.
Travis. Yeah, it's just Travis, I believe.
But just one child.
I think she has two.
Yeah, but did you guys grow up in a house where your parent had more than one child with a different spouse?
No.
Because I did.
Oh, you did?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So 4 kids, 3 different dads.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, it does affect you.
It does.
Oh, interesting.
Where you're like, this is so complicated. It's embarrassing to discuss with people.
Really?
I don't care now. But when I was a kid, my half sister that's with my stepfather. My oldest sister has a different father. My sister and the second one and I'm the third. We have the same father. It's kind of
you're
complicated.
You're saying that maybe there was some level of, like, we talking about Caitlyn growing up and just, like, having 2 father figures was like
it makes life a lot simpler when you have the same parents.
Okay, well, you know who life was not simple for?
Who?
Obama's chef. So let's get into that.
This case is so weird.
I didn't know anything about this
weird.
also.
Okay.
This case has ruined Martha's Vineyard for me, which, I wasn't happy about.
If you do go, I would avoid the waters because Tafari Campbell He was a gorgeous, young, strong man. Okay, stunning, super hot. But
Lauren's extra devastated because he was hot. Like, let's be honest here.
and I actually really don't like that, because whenever people are like, she died young and she was so beautiful, it's like, well, would it be less sad if she was like less pretty? I guess. Like,
Yeah,
that's such a
right.
horrible thing to
Yeah.
say.
It would be. No, I'm just kidding.
So I think that Tafari's death is very sad,
Yeah.
regardless of his beauty, which was there. Okay, so he died in July 2023 while visiting Martha's Vineyard estate. He went paddleboarding on Edgerton Bay Pond, where a fellow paddleboarder, this was outside Obama's like compound or pond.
Mhm.
So everyone, he's in a pond that's 8 feet deep when this happens.
Is it a pond, though, that like leads out to the ocean?
I don't know.
Okay.
But all I know is that it's still water. It's 8 feet deep.
Mhm.
And a fellow paddleboarder reported seeing him struggle before going under the water and not resurfacing. His body was found the next day about 100 feet from shore in 8 feet of water, and he was not wearing a life jacket.
Hmm.
The rumor was that this is not the case and that Tafari had been writing a tell-all book when he was found dead with injuries to his head in less than 4 feet of water. Rumors say the 911 call also didn't go out until his body washed up on shore and Obama's, quote, personal coroner conducted the autopsy.
Who has a personal coroner? Just a quick question.
Just got a flag.
No,
that.
there are. It seems like recently, I feel like there are more and more stories. Like you look at the Kim Porter story. It's
Yeah.
like a personal coroner was sent. I don't know. It's all weird.
That's
weird.
weird.
Anyone you know who has a personal coroner, you stay away from that person.
I don't know if it's their personal, like they're on their payroll, but there are certain people that seem to be the coroner for very famous people.
Yeah.
But my question number one, two things. What was in the toxicology report? And the
Mhm.
second thing is, what was the tell-all about? Was it about
Well-
mafia ties? Was it about politics? Was it about like an uncle that was shady? I mean, it could have been one of many things.
It could have
I think
been-
It was about Obama.
it could have
The
been
Obamas.
like the
'cause
25 recipes
But why
that
would
the Obama
he be
family
on
loves.
Martha's Vineyard paddleboarding outside the house that they rented if he was writing a tell-all about Obama?
Because he was trying to blackmail them because he wanted the house.
If that's just like,
Okay.
Something else I take issue with is the fact that he wasn't wearing a life jacket. People don't wear life jackets when they're paddleboarding.
yeah.
Right.
Like it's
yeah,
kind
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like that dangerous of a
It-
sport.
and in 8 feet of water.
yeah.
Right.
So I'm not like, oh, he wasn't wearing a life jacket. There's your smoking gun.
Right.
Right. That's a good point. And though it just is, it's very suspicious that a young man would just, I'm going to look up the Tafari Campbell autopsy and toxicology.
Well, did you ever follow the story of Chappaquiddick with Ted Kennedy?
Yes.
I kind of think
Okay.
that Mary Jo Kopecky
Yeah.
was buzzed or drunk
hmm
and
For sure.
got into the back of the car and fell asleep. And then he got in the car, maybe with another woman, and maybe that woman got out. But when the car crashed, I don't think he actually knew Mary Jo was in the back seat.
Oh, for real?
uh-huh.
That's fascinating. I mean,
So
that's quite the theory.
that's why I think he freaked. He was
Right.
like, wait, what? And then everybody was like, we need to do something about this.
Mhm. Yeah, wow.
People Magazine did a great podcast series
Yeah.
called The Cover Up.
About it.
And it was about it. And at the end of it, I went, I think he didn't know she was asleep in the back seat.
But so you're saying he didn't know she was asleep in the back seat. He obviously leaves the car or is like so disoriented, gets out,
Well, he was drunk.
gets to safety.
They
yeah.
were all drinking at a
Right,
party. I
right.
think everybody was drunk.
And then when does he realize he needs to go back to the car to like save her or like try to look for her?
I think in the aftermath, he was totally out of it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, there was someone else in the car and he was just so confused. I
yeah.
don't think he had any idea.
Yeah.
Well, what my research revealed is that basically the autopsy just said confirms accidental drowning,
Oh.
and toxicology reports are not public information in Massachusetts. So
Okay.
Mm.
we don't know. I will say, I do think that very powerful people, they can rid themselves of that burden. They can
Just say it.
they can be
They're-
unburdened by what has been with having that other person being
Taken care
there.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, 100%. A theory I saw was that Katy Perry is actually JonBenét.
That is so absolutely so dumb. It's ridiculous.
I saw that and I was like,
so people are so dumb.
I was just like, I don't know, people have too much time on their hands on the internet.
yes.
Also, yeah, Katy Perry is kind of an odd one. But I mean, we could get into JonBenét because it sounds like you just
Yeah, you know
did an episode
a
on
lot
it.
about the JonBenét disappearance. I actually feel like I'm not up to speed.
Okay.
So was her body ever found?
Yes.
Oh, was. Okay.
Okay, so her parents call 911 at 5:55 a.m. on December 26, 1996. They had been to a Christmas party the evening before. Now, when they arrive at the house, Patsy, the mother, is in the same clothes that she was in the previous evening at the Christmas party, but she said she woke up and put the same clothes on. What you should know is she was a former Miss West Virginia. So we know women that are kind of vain. That would be
like they would be primping and they would be getting
odd. Why would you put your same dirty clothes on that you had on the night before?
She said
she woke up in the morning, put the clothes on that she had the night before.
Like her evening wear?
Uh-huh. Went downstairs, and at the bottom of the steps, there was a ransom note. The ransom note was quite long, and it referred to a group called SBTC, and they wanted a ransom of $118,000 that they had her daughter, and she was not to call the police. Well, she called right away, and she claimed she went upstairs and woke up John, her husband, and her 9-year-old son, Burke, and then the police showed up. The weird thing is the whole crime scene was destroyed immediately. The only room they cornered off was JonBenét's room. And they called all their friends and family to come. So they were all walking through the house too. 7 hours later at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, one of the officers says to the father, maybe you could look around the house and see if anything is amiss. So he walks downstairs with a friend, downstairs to the basement, and almost immediately comes back up, and he's holding the body of his lifeless 6-year-old daughter. And so there are 2 theories of what may have happened. One is that something happened within the home with the family, and maybe there was an accident. It was covered up by the family, or that there was an intruder. So the body was close to a window in the basement. There was a footprint that no one can figure out what the footprint is for. There were marks on her body. Some had suggested it was a stun gun. Others have suggested that maybe it was a train set in the basement. Someone was pushing it up against her skin to kind of wake her up. But the problem is, and there's DNA in the underwear. There's no semen on the body or around it. She was assaulted because there was a garrote, which is like a long stick with a cord attached, that was likely put inside of her that broke her hymen, and that was around her neck, and there was duct tape over her mouth. And it's just the most puzzling case because there is the DNA, but it's a very small amount of DNA. And now the Ramsey family says they're frustrated because they say that an outside lab should be handling it. The Boulder Police Department has said, we have worked with a number of outside agencies. This is still an open case. I don't know if we're ever going to get an answer.
Okay, so you say there was DNA on her of someone else.
But it was so minuscule, it could have been the packaging, the person that packaged the underwear. There's not like a full profile of it because it's so small.
But we know it's not her.
Okay.
Her own DNA?
It's not her own DNA.
Also,
No,
go ahead.
Well, it's kind of giving a really horrific theory that the parents, in their quest to cover up an accident that happened, or just like, I don't know, some act of violence, they kind of did something with that cord or whatever to like make it seem like an intruder and an assault.
Well, lots of people have wondered this for the last 28 years. There was a new Netflix documentary. I actually interviewed the director, and John Ramsey is interviewed in it. And they believe that the police and the media stretched the truth and did such a bad job examining the case that the real perpetrator is out there somewhere.
To this day.
But there are a lot of people on the other side who believe that there was an accident that happened in the house and that in their haste to maybe cover it up, that perhaps the mother had written the ransom note. But again, it's been 28 years. There's been no movement closer to answers.
There's no handwriting analysis of the ransom note.
There was. And they both parents and the son do a handwriting analysis. They counted out the father and the son, but it was inconclusive with the mother.
And the idea is that the mom was potentially just in those clothes all night until this happened.
Mm-hmm. There's also a 911 call, and it's hard to tell. There's like a sound in the background, and experts have tried to zone in on what was said, and it does sound like a 9-year-old boy's in the background asking, what happened? Can I help? And John Ramsey is saying something along the lines of like, this does not pertain to you. But in an interview that they did on New Year's Day in 1997 on CNN, they say they were all asleep, including their son, until the 911 call was made, or maybe right after that she woke them up. that would conflict with what they said.
Yeah.
It's giving
What about
coroner note from Robert Durst. It's giving.
It's hard because I don't know if we'll ever have an answer.
I know, but it's like most of the time, like the whole.
One
intruder
other thing. When they did the autopsy, there was pineapple in her stomach.
What about the pineapple?
Now, the party that they went to the previous evening, the host says there was no fruit at the party. So that would mean that she got home that evening and ate pineapple in her house. So she was up.
Mm-hmm. Were they able to tell a time of death that helped?
A neighbor who lived diagonal heard the scream of a child. Now, she didn't look at the clock when that happened.
Yeah.
And it was brief and loud, but she guesstimated that it was between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. And then she waited to see if there were further sounds, and after 5 minutes went back to sleep.
Yeah.
Why is the pineapple so mysterious? I mean, so the mom and dad didn't say she had a fruit snack? And
They said they have no idea why there would be pineapple, but there was a bowl of pineapple on the kitchen table when investigators went to the house.
Oh, and like the intruder, he writes the note. He also cuts pineapple and feed. What? I don't know. I feel like I figured out.
Well,
this case.
I think
I think the mystery is not that.
The theory
for sure.
Well, and I think the other theory is that the brother accidentally did it or something, and then the parents kind of faced with, oh my gosh, what has just happened? Our son has just accidentally committed this atrocity, and we don't want to lose both kids. So then it's like, okay, well, let's stage this intruder situation.
Well, also, John Ramsey had lost a daughter in a car accident years before. So of the 4 children combined, because they had 2 together, that would be the loss of a daughter named Beth, JonBenét. And if that were what happened, I could see a moment of panic, like that would be 3 of our kids gone.
Right.
But he was also a minor.
He's a minor. He's 9. He's not going for.
Who knows what happens when people are
But
in a frantic state?
You're literally, your mind is racing. I mean, I think the other really crazy part about this is just how the crime scene was just totally trashed.
That's why I think we're never going to know the answer, because it was so compromised.
Yes. I mean, it reminds me of like Karen Reed.
I know.
Like when the crime scene is that, and people who are listening, that's one of the most fascinating cases. We talked about it. Kate has a great series on it. It just, when the crime scene is just totally fucked over and there's no way to actually like evaluate evidence. Yeah, it's just like, how do you even know? How do you prove something in court?
Also, it's compelling because it happened on Christmas. It was this wealthy family. He had just sold his company to Lockheed Martin, so he was quite wealthy. They live in the suburbs of Denver. She was a Miss West Virginia. And the child, JonBenét, was also in pageants.
Yeah.
So when you see the images of her with all the makeup on, I think that was the tipping point where people started to go, this pageant stuff is very seedy. And then the question of, is it possible someone had targeted her because they were fixated on her picture or had been to a pageant?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But how was the crime scene destroyed? Like what does that mean?
Too
Just
many people walking in and out. And then when the body was found, the father picked the child up and walks upstairs with the body. So that's ruining the crime scene around where the body was found, and then the bodies,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, very, very horrific. But there's a new Netflix documentary.
So you can watch the Netflix docuseries. It's directed by Joe Berlinger, and John Ramsey is interviewed in it.
And is it a good documentary?
I think that what's great about this story is there are so many different documentaries. You can just watch all of them and then, listen, none of us work in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can certainly deduce things based on our own life experiences. And law enforcement has obviously tried for 28 years to get to an answer. So
Right.
I just don't know if we ever will get one.
Wow.
It's really
Well,
sad.
Okay. And should we get into another mystery?
Please.
Very sad. Let's go with another classic, which is the death of Princess Diana.
Lay the groundwork, set the scene for us.
Okay. So everyone, a lot of people believe that there's some mysteries to the death of Princess Diana and that it doesn't really make sense that she just died in this fateful car crash. And so here are some inconsistencies. First, the crash itself. So Diana's driver, Henry Paul, he was reportedly drunk and he allegedly tested twice over the legal limit. but he was able to tie his shoes right before driving without issue. And some people think that he was set up to crash this car. Also, I mean, the biggest smoking gun of all of it, because there's like some things that are like the paparazzi might have blinded them with the lights. Like there are some things that are just a little bit not that convincing. Like Diana wasn't with her normal bodyguards that night. Dodi's father says that he thinks it was set up. And basically the idea is that the monarchy killed Diana specifically so that Charles could remarry and to basically get rid of her, that she was becoming a problem. Her star had just like eclipsed the monarchies.
And that they didn't want her to be with Dodi.
Yes, they didn't want her to be with Dodi
Because
Al-Fayed.
he was Egyptian and Muslim, and they didn't want the look of that, allegedly.
So this news came out in 2023. So Princess Diana, she wrote a letter to her friend, her former butler, Paul Burrell, predicting her death due to a planned car accident.
Mm-hmm.
This was 10 months before it happened. She writes him a letter and she says that she believed Prince Charles was, quote, planning an accident in my car that would leave her with a serious head injury. She said this would allow him to marry. And he has come on the record saying he has this letter from her. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
That's
When you predict your own death, that's pretty shocking.
Well, the first thing is this family is so strange and mysterious. Did you know that high-ranking members travel with royal blood in case they need a transfusion? I mean, these are not typical people.
no. Wait, what?
Because
Yeah.
they
Like,
wouldn't
in
get
the
a
event,
regular transfusion
They
of
need
just
to
regular
have
people
royal
blood.
blood.
Wait, that is
Mhm.
so weird and archaic and ugh.
So I'm just saying, if they do that,
Yeah.
Lord knows what they do.
Right.
I am friends with someone who was one of Dodi Fayed's best friends
Okay.
Oh wow.
and spoke to him in the days before the crash. They were not engaged and they weren't even really romantic.
Okay.
Oh, really?
They were just great friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
She liked the kind of like the escape from the
Mhm.
royal world, and he provided for her with
Mhm.
his resources.
Right.
Yeah.
So when Mohammed Al Fayed suggests that they were engaged and it was this romantic relationship, it's just simply not true.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
So, I mean, did your friend have any insight into whether this was set up?
She had a conversation with the director who said, stop talking about Dodi. And she did think at some points that her phone was being tapped.
What?
I have the chills.
I feel like I bring this all back to what this family is capable of and what they've done in the past. Let's think about Henry VIII. Okay. He had like multiple wives beheaded.
Well, I just think people who have that amount of money and power, who only knows?
If Kris Jenner has made a deal with the devil, like I'm sure the royal family in England has made some deals with the devil. Another thing about this case, the driver had several hundreds of thousands of dollars deposited into his account that day.
Wait, what?
Mm-hmm. There was just like a direct deposit of $200,000 or something like that put into his account that day. And so apparently, allegedly, he was in on it and that he was supposed to drive them, obviously, and he did. But the crash was supposed to happen from the back. So he wasn't supposed to die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it's super mysterious that he got this like big deposit of money that day. And then the crash happens and that doesn't really
By the way,
add up.
she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Experts now say if she had been wearing a seatbelt, she would have lived.
Yeah, it is quite shocking to have all three people die.
Mhm.
And people also say that, maybe the seatbelts were broken so that they couldn't have been worn. Also, I guess there's like 14 cameras within that tunnel and none of them are recording.
Or maybe they did, but someone confiscated that. But the one thing that just perplexes me is it does seem like someone did flash a light.
Mm-hmm.
To try to blind the driver.
Uh-huh.
And then, people also, like there's photos of the queen at the funeral where she has like a smile on her face, which is like a little bit more.
Well, the
You can
queen was
question that.
un-
Did she ever
Annoyed.
smile?
No, it's actually quite shocking to see her. Like she looks gleeful, like compared to her normal like face.
I mean, this doesn't really say that this was a conspiracy, but she literally was just annoyed. She had to leave their like country estate
Mhm.
to
She
go.
got a lot of flack for that.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
she was basically like, this bitch is not royal anymore. This is not my issue. And then everyone was so up in arms over it. They're like, you need to address
Yeah.
the Commonwealth.
In this respect, I can understand how for William and Harry this would be maddening.
Yeah.
Like, you want the answers. Like, it seems like Harry has said in his own book, which I read, and also in interviews, suggests that it's not worth it to him to push for the answers because the answers may be so upsetting.
Yeah.
And he said in the book, it's not going to change the fact she's gone.
Right. And this is something I will say. I think that Harry just doesn't seem like an actual Windsor to me. And I do think that he is most likely the son of the bodyguard.
Wow.
Because he just looks so much like.
Sometimes I think, though, that he looks a lot like Prince Philip.
Yeah, I've seen those split screens, but don't you think he doesn't have that evil Windsor energy? Like he's just he's too much of a nice ginger.
Yeah, he does have like a happy-go-lucky kind of energy that none of them have.
Yeah, Charles and William, they just both seem like
scowling.
I could see them getting.
Did you read the book?
Spare?
Yeah,
of course. Oh,
the one thing that, again, everyone's experience in life is so different, and the lens you look through is so different. But maybe it's because like my dad's a total whack job. But the way he talked about his dad and complained about him, I was like, he doesn't sound that bad.
About Prince Charles.
Yeah, I was like, he sounds like a great guy.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, he definitely, I feel like the fact that he didn't hug them when he let them know.
He's British.
I don't know.
My mom never hugged me, and we're American. But he came in and he said, "Darling boy, I'm so sorry she's gone. I'm so sorry, darling boy." That doesn't sound that bad to me.
Darling boy's cute, for sure.
And honestly, after watching The Crown, which is obviously an interpretation, I felt a lot more endeared to Charles.
I know.
Than I did even before, like after reading Spare, like watching The Crown. I don't know. I just think that like he was raised by a very cold mom himself.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know how to maybe show love or whatever. And I do think that he was, I don't know. I have empathy for Charles, I guess.
There's
King Charles.
King
Charles, if you're listening, I have empathy for you.
A
Don't kill
famous,
me.
I think it's a photo of Queen Elizabeth. She's getting off like a plane after doing a royal tour that lasted months. And she's seeing her toddler, Prince Charles' son, and she shakes his hand. Like that's the family he's from.
And how do you shed that when that's all you know?
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing about Charles. Honestly, I take it back. I like the Windsors.
Someone clips his fingernails. You understand that, right? So Harry's upset that his father is cold when he's never clipped his own fingernails his whole life.
It's true. Also, if you hear him talking about gardening, he's a very charming man. And he planned that city.
Very funny.
Yeah, I'm kind of into Charles.
Yeah.
I mean, also, I will say.
It's a gorgeous voice, too.
The fact that he's been with Camilla, as terrible as maybe their origin story and all the cheating with Diana and all of that is very bad and wrong and sad. But like, I do believe in their love and the fact that he's, I don't think that he was just a like serial cheater who couldn't stay faithful. I think he was deeply in love with Camilla.
And he's been basking in her earthy sensuality for decades. Yeah.
Also, it's sad that Diana got married so young. Like she was really kind of just pushed into getting married at a time when she wasn't even sure of who she was.
Right.
Well, I have so much empathy for her.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, all of a sudden the prince is in love with you and you're not going to just like, I don't know
She
how.
was naive. She was targeting. She was naive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he really wasn't though in love with her. He was kind of forced into it himself, and the whole time just held his candle for Camilla. Pop Apologist is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for your car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. I mean, now that we're just getting into the royals, I'm curious if you think that William is a faithful husband to Kate. No, you don't.
No.
I don't think so either. I think that these men are like...
He's no different than a celebrity on a reality show. The minute they get attention, women will just come and like drop trowel. They're like, what's up? And he has enough people that work in and around him to make sure that no one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of an open secret that within London, that he steps out on Kate because, he wants to
Just
have...
say it.
I don't know if this is the regular episode or this is the Patreon, but he wants to be pegged and Kate won't do that. That is like, I have talked to London friends about that.
She's like an Earth Mother figure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not, Anyway, I'll leave
No,
it at that.
we
We've
have
had multiple people corroborate this story.
We had someone in our DMs who's like a very, very high society person, big name. And she was like, the pegging thing is very legit.
Yeah.
I mean, the
But
male.
by the way, maybe we're making the assumption that she's not like, leave me alone.
Right.
Right.
You know, maybe she's like, go and do what you need to do
Yeah.
because I'm not doing it, but we'll stay married and have this family life,
Yeah.
this lifestyle.
Right. And we don't know if she doesn't enjoy her own multiple partners. You know, we don't
you
know
hope
what
she does.
Of course we
I
do.
do. Yeah.
I don't think she does.
Oh, you don't think she does?
I
I
don't know.
to
There's something
think
about
there's
her.
someone at the stable at her parents'
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
And they're
Like-
like, you're the greatest thing that ever came to be. You're like a
Mhm.
great mom. You're so
Yeah.
funny. Let's go play field hockey. And she's like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
I am picturing Teddy's guy right now. I think about the guy at the
Maybe.
stables, but
Maybe.
I hope that. I hope and wish that for her.
I mean, I would not to get back into the Kate of it all, but there was the mysterious death of that very handsome,
Mhm.
aristocratic friend. And there's all
that was so
the
sad.
So
strange
sad.
things surrounding that. You know what's interesting about that?
You know, I'm obsessed with the aristocracy.
You are.
Like I'm upset. Have you ever watched on YouTube? There's a series called Posh Life, I think.
Okay.
Posh. You have to look it up. So
Okay.
it basically that goes behind the scenes of Tatler, and they just kind of profile people. And there's
Wow.
this one American family that they're like expats, and they're in their house, and
And is it just like the lifestyles of the rich and famous type of vibe, or
kind of
But-
it's almost like pre Ladies of London in a
Mhm.
way, but they're also showing the people who work at the magazine and what they put together for the magazine, how they choose like
Wow.
you know, and Tatler would be like, this is the ideal country outfit, and like how they're choosing it, who they choose to feature. I'm obsessed.
wait? Okay, and it's a YouTube series,
Yes,
and it's called what
I
again?
think it's called Posh.
Posh. Okay, I'm
I think
just
we'll double check on that. I
Okay.
think it's from like 10 or 12 years ago.
Wow.
a lot of people think that Kate has been replaced with a clone.
I don't believe in clones.
You don't believe in
The
clones?
only clones I believe exist are maybe for Kim Il-jong or Vladimir Putin.
Mm.
Okay, so
Well,
say more about
I
that.
just don't think I think it's too hard to make a clone of a woman. I just
Not Hillary Clinton, apparently, according to Lauren.
I don't know that was a clone. I think it was a robot's skin
Okay,
suit.
sorry.
It just seems too hard to keep up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just feel like we would know more about this technology if they
Yeah,
could
I
really
mean,
clone
by the way,
people.
I'd be into it.
You would.
Can I have a clone who takes my kids to all their activities and I don't have to talk to anybody? Let's do it.
So one of our topics here is about Avril Lavigne and her clone alleged, death or whatnot.
Okay,
Oh,
that is so stupid.
it is.
too.
It's super stupid. It's like it's on the same lines as Katy Perry being JonBenét. And again, we don't even have to get into it, but I will just say that in reading about it, the theory is that she did have a body double that her record label would use. Like basically her grandfather died and she was going through it and she needed to take a break. So her record label had her body double like do appearances for her. And now that to me, if I was a celebrity, I would love to have somebody doing my appearances for me. Like if I could just
Yeah.
have a night in.
Well, my one friend's brother looked like Sammy Hagar, and he would go places and sign signatures. But if you looked at him after 5 minutes, you go, and we don't have a match here.
Right.
So I
Something's
feel like
off.
something would have slipped up. Listen,
Yeah.
people who are groupies, they catch everything.
I mean, if Taylor Swift had
No,
a
it's
body
so
double or
true.
anything, we would know.
you would know in 3 seconds.
It's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
you can find the body double on Instagram and see her account, and she really doesn't look like Avril that much anymore. Like
There you go.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
been two roads diverging in a wood for sure visually between
Yeah.
those two. And
Like my daughter, my number 3, she looks like the cute little girl in The Sound of Music. The
Okay,
one,
yeah.
Gretel.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and also people will like show Avril singing 20 years ago and they'll show a cut to her singing today and they're like, it is not the same. And like,
Yeah.
duh.
Duh.
It's been 2 decades.
Also, look at like a
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus or anyone. You could say, oh, someone else became her or whatever.
Right,
Right.
When you just have that normal transformation as a pop star.
hmm
Sorry, one more thing about body doubles and back to Kate. I will just never forget those chilling photos of Kate and William at the market that we were all buying, where we were all just like
Yes.
zooming in. Was that her? That kind of looks like her. Is that
Yes.
him? Is she that short? I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, those were crazy times.
Yeah.
Those were crazy
Anyway.
times.
They kind of set themselves up for that.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
fumbled a lot.
We
still
fumbled it with a
don't.
lot.
Bad communications team over there.
The photoshopping was weird.
Yeah.
It's all weird. Like, it's all weird. I don't believe we've been told the real story about that whatsoever.
I
That's
bet
all I'll say
you
about
she
that.
doesn't even pay attention to the news. She doesn't read I have heard she likes reality TV though.
Really?
Yeah. They
probably
both like
listens.
reality TV. They do like it.
What?
But I mean, she's probably so immune to so much of what the chatter
Yeah.
Yeah.
has people around her that just keep her out of the way.
Right. I love that they love reality TV. It's so much more.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. No,
You know?
I mean, I love reality TV. Everyone
probably,
like, gobbles it up.
That's how people who don't have such privilege live.
Yeah.
Like, they have to interact with those people at some point.
To them.
If I ever met the royals,
Yeah.
the first thing I would say is, let's talk about the reality shows you watch.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
What do you? Yeah. What?
Yeah.
What are you fascinated by? I mean, I just think about how like Meghan and Harry talked about how they like love to watch Disney movies.
Mm.
Like, I don't want to hear about that.
They
You-
said that?
They said on like that, like when they were falling in
They're-
love, they were like, maybe it was during.
Okay, if I
They were,
was
like,
with
holed
an
up in a
adult
cottage.
man and he
Yes.
watched Disney
Yes.
movies, it's abort mission time.
No, literally,
Yeah.
like something's weird.
a lot of
something's
the
off.
stuff in Harry's book, I was like, do you remember the part where he said Meg had been on Air Rwanda and the stewardesses were like, "Oh my God, you're Megan from Suits." I was like, they get access to the show Suits in Rwanda.
The daytime
I think
show?
he's just like a goof that just believes everything.
Yeah, and I think she is incredibly powerful. And I think he just fell right under her spell.
Yeah,
Do we want to talk at all about their holiday card? Did you see that?
but why put it out?
I know. Also,
It's so okay. Let's
so weird.
My sister,
Let me
by the
pull it
way,
up.
does this thing with her friends where I don't know if they've done it in recent years, but when her kids were a lot younger, they used to get everyone's Christmas card stack and like on the New Year's Eve and then go through them and just like roast them.
Oh my gosh,
It's amazing.
incredible.
That would have been in the pile because it's all self-congratulatory.
It's like
The white savior picture, like
Everything in that is
Everything.
like congratulating themselves on their charitable work. And then the kids from behind, from far away. And who's taking that picture?
I just feel like they should do the photo shoot they really want. Have someone like create a studio with like clouds on the floor and they can both be like walking on clouds a la like Jesus Christ. Because clearly that's the aesthetic.
I mean, you guys,
that's the vibe they're
there
going for.
there are like 3 photos of them doing charity work. It's like the 3 different charity photos, and then
Can you imagine for just people we know in our regular life, if we got a Christmas card from somebody and it's them doing charity work, we would rip them apart.
Oh yeah. Okay. Also, I think it's worth noting that it's on behalf of the office of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Archwell Productions, and Archwell Foundation. We wish you a very happy holiday season.
So do you think that they have another card they send it out to like people they actually like? I'm going to go with no because I think they're paranoid about photos
Yeah.
that their kids getting out.
I think this is all that got out this year.
They would get so much more credit if they just put out a nice family photo and said, "Happy holidays, love Harry and
I think
Meghan."
it's a control thing. Did you guys watch Polo?
Oh, I think
the
it's a
series on Netflix?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Disappointing. First of all, it's about polo, and no one in the series explains to me how the game of polo was played.
Okay.
Okay. Lots of their friends, I guess, they're executive producing it. Apparently, it was what he worked on for the last year or something.
Gosh.
They're in it for 3 seconds. You barely see them.
Really?
There's so much possibility, but you get the sense that you have somebody who has like their own view, like Meghan and Harry had their own view of what it should be, and the
Mhm.
executives at Netflix were like, but no one will watch that.
Yes. Well, I mean,
Right.
to them, it's like, let's show how charity work can come to life through the game of polo.
It's so
And
weird.
It's like, no one's going to watch that.
yeah.
like, sorry.
No, I'm like, there's one guy, he's super hot, very muscular. His wife's probably a better polo player than he is. They're having a baby.
Yeah.
But then I go down the rabbit hole. He was married before.
Mhm.
Like, I need that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not even like, this is how many players are on the field. This is how long the game is.
Right.
This is how much it costs. Like,
Yeah.
none of that. It's weird.
I mean, I feel like going back to their card and it being like from the office of the Duke and the Duchess. It's to me and like the foundation.
Did she say Orchards Riviera?
No,
blah, blah,
no,
blah?
No, no,
Have-
it's just Archwell Productions and Archwell Foundation.
I just think that
Okay.
they are so attached to themselves as an establishment. Again, I want to double tap on this. I think they would get so much more credit if they let the Duke and Duchess thing go. Like if they didn't harp on it so much, if they didn't announce themselves as that so much.
It's very
just-
Luann de Lesseps.
it's so Luann.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yes.
That is
It's a great
perfect.
parallel.
Can you imagine if Luann and Meghan Markle were at a dinner party together and they were trying to out-title each
Oh
other?
my gosh.
See, I feel like
Good times.
I really do like Meghan, but Meghan's the type that would be like, I don't watch Housewives. And
Yes.
But she does.
But she probably does.
We know she does.
Yeah. But it's like she just would be too good for
She's
it.
so
But by the way,
She's
that's
bonus.
most people I deal with.
Yeah,
Most
really.
people are like, as soon as I tell them I cover reality TV, I just don't really have the time. And then 5 minutes later, they know every contestant
Right.
on The Bachelor. And what do I always say? The smartest people watch reality shows because it's just a study of human behavior.
Yeah, so true.
So true. It's so true. I don't have patience for people who don't watch like good reality TV, but they watch like terrible reality TV, like The Bachelor.
Agreed.
Like that's where I'm like, that is actually like killing your brain cells.
Yeah. I don't watch Love is Blind, but I'll watch like the 600-pound person. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
or Housewives or like that. Yeah.
they're all in the same pool of reality shows,
Mhm.
just more one extreme than the other. But
Yeah.
it's like, I'm too cerebral. I can't watch any reality shows. I'm like, you just told me you watch one.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm curious for your thoughts on the Vanderpump reboot of them getting rid of the whole cast.
Well, they had to because the show was going nowhere.
you
Uh-huh.
think?
You cannot be on a show for 14 years. No one should. I don't care if you're a housewife, if
Oh,
you work at a
interesting.
rrestaurant. It's too much.
Just runs its course.
I know everything about you.
Yeah.
There's nothing new. I got it. We're good.
See, I feel like, and this is not my idea, what I'm about to say next. I've heard someone else saying this and I agree with it. They should have just embraced the fact that they're like, show Lala her new house and like her podcasting career and Sheena's like show them actually what they're doing in their lives and let's actually just follow it rather than let's pretend you guys are all friends.
Well, then it's like they all should just be on The Valley.
Mm,
Because that's what I feel like The Valley is. It's
The
just like-
Valley to me really is about a group of people that are in their 30s raising children
Yeah.
in the same community.
yeah.
yeah.
And I don't believe, like, I know they just bought houses,
Yeah.
but it feels very much like you just bought the house to be on the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
I like it where it feels a little bit more authentic.
Yeah.
And I do feel like, listen, we saw them in their 20s. Most of them are now almost into their 40s, if not over 40. Can't we just let another story be told? What has been missing on Bravo, I think, is that 30-year-old point of
Mhm.
view of having a child and you're still trying to have a social life and you're
Mhm.
still trying to be connected to your friends. And then you've got to have this romantic relationship with your partner, but then you have to be involved in all these like dumb parent things
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Right. And also these people very much seem like normal people with normal jobs.
I
They're
like
not
that.
influencers.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And their
I'm
houses are normal
the-
too. Like
exactly.
extremely normal.
no, I'm excited, and I do love the fact that Kristen Doty has made a triumphant return to reality
And is
television.
pregnant.
I'm always happy when anybody has a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I'm so happy.
What about quick thoughts on James? Domestic violence?
I mean, just go off television, get some help.
Yeah. Seriously.
I hope Allie has a good support group that helps her realize that she needs to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't get to
Well, there's one. This is a challenge for
Okay.
all of your listeners.
Okay.
I believe that Teresa Graves is the mother of Whitney Houston.
okay.
They look identical.
Mm-hmm.
Their mannerisms are the same. Teresa would have had a baby at 15 years old if Whitney was her mother. And I believe that if that did happen, it was because some sort of dark situation
Mhm.
happened. And a lot of women had children during that period of time in secret. And I know I've interviewed an author
Right.
who's talked about women that had babies in secret because they were pushed to do so. Teresa was an immense talent. She ended up joining the Jehovah Witness faith and basically lived a life of isolation. And I just wonder if on the backside of that is a lot of pain that came from placing a child for adoption. And if it
Mm.
was the superstar that was Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
So go and look at the video and pictures of the two of them. I'm telling you, it is
Identical.
identical.
I think for me too, it's the voice. Like just like the speaking voice
Voice.
is really like, we're sisters obviously, and my other
Mhm.
sister has a very similar voice to me. That the voice is like really chilling. It's like you
Yeah.
can't fake that. That's like you just know that those two people are related.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they look like twins. It's
Yeah.
giving Kaya Gerber and Cindy Crawford.
I agree. That's a great analogy. Yes.
Kate, we fucking love you.
love
I love you.
Thank you so much for coming. back.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this
Thank you.
again. Let us
Yes.
know anytime you're in New York. We'll just
will.
like book you and we'll let you know when we're in LA.
Yeah.
It's been so fun.
Wait, are you still in Puerto Rico?
Yeah, I'm living in Puerto Rico. I'm commuting now to New York to
Wow.
to tape the pod. So
Very cool.
it's fun. I'm like making the most of my final child-free years.
Are you
know?
protecting your skin in Puerto Rico?
I actually think it's worse in New York because
Oh.
I just spend so much time walking outside.
Got
But in
it.
Puerto Rico, I'm just into an Uber.
You're not a huge beach goer in Puerto Rico, I would say.
No,
Yeah.
but honestly, the skin is not good. So I have some issues I need to work through.
I've had
Between
Mohs
me and my
surgery
dermatologist.
2 times, so
You have. Yeah.
basal cell carcinoma
Oh, wow.
removed. So yeah.
Okay, well, I need to double tap on that offline with you because I
Yeah.
need to know about the signs. to look
Tell
out for.
tell our listeners where they can find you, all the things about your show.
Okay, so 6 days a week, Reality Life with Kate Casey podcast. Mondays, I tell you what to watch during the week. Tuesday through Friday are interviews. Saturday episodes are with inspiring or interesting people. And then what to watch list is at katecasey.substack.com. Comes right to your inbox every Monday. Bonus episodes on Patreon and Instagram at KatecaseyCA. TikTok, it's Kate Casey. Everywhere else, Kate Casey.
I'm just such a fan of the What to Watch list, and I'm just such a fan of you. I feel like
Oh,
you have a
thank
very cerebral point of view.
Yes.
Very smart, thoughtful. Like you dig deeper. You know, your show is not just another pop culture show, stream of consciousness show. It's very robust. So anyway,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I love you guys.
love you.
Thank you.
All
We
right.
I always feel smarter after our episodes, so thank
You always say that. I, love
I
that.
literally
Thank
always
you.
feel smarter. Always.
I love
Here I
that.
am, smarter yet again. Okay.
Well, hope our listeners feel smarter as well. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, Kate.
Bye.